All right, we are live. Hey everyone, how are you guys doing? I'm just going to just make sure that we are live on all channels and I have you guys coming in. Diamond may be joining us later, but she always is on the back end making sure that everything is going smoothly. So I am going to work alone for right now tonight. So thank you for everyone that is coming in. I just want to make sure that we have connection. Now, if you guys have questions, please continue to drop it for me here in the chat. I look forward to hearing your questions. And as you come in, please let me know. Just let me know where you guys are coming in from so I can also, I want to make sure that I have my comments going and I want to make sure that everybody is coming in, answering their questions. And if you can, as you come in, make sure you hit, if you can, hit the like button so I can see where everybody is coming in from. So I see you guys. So we have some people that's in Atlanta, Texas, VA. Thank you guys and GA for joining me, and Houston, Texas in the house in Florida. So thank you guys for coming in. Now, the topic tonight, we're doing this credit boot camp for you guys. And this is to help you stay focused on your credit journey, especially during the holidays. This is where a lot of people rack up tons of credit card debt because they begin to spend. And at the beginning of the year, we do our annual credit kickoff. That's where a lot of people make their New Year's resolutions to reach their goal. And many of this, these things that people want to do, you need your credit to do that if you want to buy a home and things like that. So, um, also, you guys, let me know what your goals is in the comment section. Please drop that for me too. What is your goals? Because there's a lot of changes going on. I'm dropping a video tomorrow breaking down about Donald Trump with this 50-year loan. There's also some things that they're talking about loans now becoming portable. So, if you're already like myself, some people are, they have homes or they own homes, and you have a mortgage already at a locked in lower interest rates. They're also talking about making home loans portable, that if you sell your home, you can use that home loan and just carry it over. So we're that I will probably have to do another video because they just rolled that out. But talking about now these 50-year mortgages and removing the credit requirements for mortgages. So I'm dropping that video and telling you a lot of people are really losing their minds about this 50-year mortgage, and also removing the credit requirements of getting a mortgage. So I'm going to break that down in the video on, how I feel, because a lot of people, yeah, 50 years is a long time to have a mortgage, but we're going to break that down in that video. Um, Really just my take on that and how you guys can move with that. Thank you so much for Scott. Thank you for supporting the live with the dollar super chat. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I really do. And I'm going to come back through since I'm working alone, and I'm going to ask your question, answer some of these questions. And Yvonne saying, I think it's horrible. I want you to hold that. Watch that video, how I break it down. A lot of people think it's horrible, but I think I'm going to give you guys a whole different take that you haven't thought about. Really, with those 50-year loans, I'm telling you, watch out for that video because I know a lot of people. Um, this is why we're having these lives to really, sometimes It's about strategy, you guys. And life is all about a strategy and what you're trying to get done, especially with your credit. So, thank you so much for coming in. And Kenneth, thank you so much. You said, I enjoy your channel, credit card. You said charge off is what you're dealing with. So, yes, let's get into these charge offs. Now, with a charge off, how do we deal with charge offs? Let's talk about what is a charge off. Many of you guys, if you look at your credit, you'll see two of the common things is going to be charge off, and you might see a collection. So, what's the difference between a charge off and a collection? Now, with a charge off, generally you're going to have your original creditor. These are people that you know. Unless you have identity theft, then that's a whole nother ball game. But if you had a credit card, you'll see with your original creditor, if you fall behind on paying that credit card, they'll try to collect. Generally, they're going to try to collect for you for a total of 180 days. Now, is that guaranteed? No, but that's about the window of time. Then, when they cannot collect on that, what you'll see them charge it off or write it off. Okay. So let's deal with once they write it off, then over a period of time, because they could not collect, you may see that turn into a collection. And a lot of times, what people will see is that charge off, or it might even say a write off, and you'll see a collection for that same account. So that might be your setup. You might be in a stage where you only see a charge off, or it may say write off. So they're writing that off and saying that account is a loss. And a lot of times you may even with that creditor taxes, sometimes you might even receive what's called a 1099-C. So you might get that even in the mail, and you want to look out for that, you guys. So what they're saying to the IRS, I did not collect on this account. This is a loss. And so they charge it off, or they write off the account. Now, here's how you want to attack that. When I said, you see, say right now, all you have is a charge off, okay? Reporting on your credit report. One thing you want to look at with that charge off, you want to see, is the balance zero, or do you still have a balance on that? So, say you had a $2,000 credit card, you fell on hard times, you could not pay it, and that company was calling you trying to collect, then you notice on your credit report it became a charge off. Where you see the balance, if that balance says $2,000, generally that account is still with that original creditor. But if you see it go to zero, you want to look in the notations, and many a times they'll say sold. So you know at that point, if it's being sold, then it's going to a collection company. Now, if you're at the part where you have a collection and a charge off on these accounts on your credit report, this is going to be very important for you to attack this. If you have a collection for that credit card that says $2,000, and you have that charge off, and the balance is $2,000, that's a violation of the FCRA, because what they're doing at that point, they're charging you and saying you have a open debt on both of these accounts. And so you owed a balance of $2,000, but both of these accounts are reporting $2,000 owed to this collection company, and $2,000 actually owed as a balance to that charge off. That's $4,000 of debt that they're saying you owe. That's incorrect. Only one of them can have that balance of that $2,000. So if you see that, you need to dispute that immediately, and that happens a lot. They're double dipping. So you will want to dispute that because that's inaccurate on your credit report. If you also have a charge off, one thing you need to look at, pay attention, you guys. Actually, you might not remember, but you might have to review your records. The last payment that you made on that account, that's when the clock starts ticking for that 7-year window for it to fall off. So you guys want to be careful, because say it's been some time and you guys have this charge off, but it's been about 3 or 4 years, and you'll see this company trying to collect again. It might have went dormant, and here they come trying to collect once again to give you, let's say, a discounted price with that $2,000. They might say, hey, if you pay us, $1,000 or 900, $800, hey, this can go away. You have to be careful on paying that, because what will happen if you do not negotiate for them to remove that? If you pay it, then they will update it as a paid charge off, and it'll be negative. So you'll see your score drop again, and that give them another additional 7 years to report that on your credit report. And you need to be careful, because some of you guys, depending on your state, you want to check with that kind of debt, what is the statute of limitation in your state? They may not can sue you for that anymore. So if you go paying that, you could trap yourself into some problems, or even negotiating paying that. If you're going to do a pay for deletion, this is very important. I don't care who it is, a collection company, the original creditor. Do not pay that and negotiate if they don't put it in writing. Remember, you guys, when you're talking to these people on the phone, they're recording your phone call for a reason. So if, excuse me, if you say, I'm going to make a payment plan, they're recording you and you're creating a verbal contract. When you're dealing with the original creditor, make sure that you're saying on those recorded lines, to my knowledge, this is paid, but I need to check my records. And so you may talk to them, the original creditor. We already went over last week with collections and why you never want to talk to them on the phone. You guys don't talk to them. If you didn't catch that, please go and see that, because they're third party and they're just coming out the blue. So they have to show they have a legal right to collect on that debt. The original creditor, you may want to have a relationship with them. You may try to negotiate, but please understand the same thing as last week. You're on a recorded line. So just say, hey, to my understanding, this is paid. Keep going there. To my understanding, this is paid. But once I check my records, let me know, how can I make this go away? But to my understanding, it's paid. If your negotiation, keep saying that to your understanding, this is paid. I must check my records. But if we want to just settle the matter, because even though I paid this, to my understanding, what can be done. So make sure you stand on that. You don't want to reenact a statute of limitations in your state by saying the wrong thing on that recorded line and opening the door where they can come and sue you. Okay. And just then actively collect on you with a lawsuit. So be careful with that. Now, if you don't have that going on, one thing that you might see a lot with those charge offs, you'll see them sometimes hitting you every month with a late payment, every month on your credit report. Now, the reason why they're doing that is to hold your credit score down. So when you see that every month they're hitting you with a CO, they're doing that on purpose because they know once that account sit and the longer it goes without updating or reporting, your score will go up. If you're using a FICO score, FICO 8, even FICO 10, as long as it's not hitting you, you'll start to see your score go up. And they know that. So what they do is try to hit you every month with the CO. That way, it's like a new negative item hitting you every month. Now, the way you can dispute that to stop that from happening, technically, it's still out whether they can do that or not. But the way you want to dispute it is to say, if this account is charged off, how is there an expected monthly payment every month? How are you expecting a monthly payment when this account has been charged off? This account need to be deleted. So that's how, if you have that going on, you will see that a lot of times with collection companies too. That's a violation of the FCRA because with a collection company, it's in collection. How can they report something late every month when you never even had an arrangement or agreement with them? You don't even know them. I never even did business with you. And so if it's in collections, it should not be reporting late every month, but they do that too. So if you got that going on and it's a collection, that's a straight up violation. With the charge off your original creditor, it's still out. The legal standing on that is still out, but you can attack it with how I said. If it's charged off, how is it a late payment every month when it's in a charged off status? A payment on this account is no longer due. So keep that in mind. If that's happening to you, you need to dispute it. Now, one of the ways to get charge offs off, especially if you're disputing it, you want to attack removing the old addresses because wherever you lived when you created that account, this is why they like to keep those old addresses on your credit report. So with me, my name being Sherry Beckley, there's tons of people with my same exact name in my state. And some of you guys, if you have common names like a Mike Jones, for instance, if you live in a building, you might have somebody in that building with your same exact name. So they do mix up people account and merge their accounts a lot, especially if you have a very common name and you guys, you want to check those aliases. So let's take the name Mike Jones. That's a common name. Or let's say Michael Andrews. So Mike or Michael Andrews, if you switch that name backwards, which a lot of times y'all see that on your credit report, that's Andrew Michael. That can be a whole different person. So when you see that they're switching up, and a lot of you guys might let it sit there because you're like, oh, well, that's my last name and they put my first name. No, get all that mess off. You want to get those off to help remove those charge offs because they're connecting that to you to try to keep those accounts seated. That's why they don't like to remove old addresses because they know that. So you want to try to get that old information off. And another thing that you want to do, if you have a charge off, it's important to see if there's a 1099-C. Did they cancel that debt? Many a times they might have canceled that debt out, but they didn't send you that 1099-C. What you want to do, you want to go and get your IRS tax transcript, the wage transcript, and see, did that company issue a 1099-C? Did they cancel that debt? Because if they canceled that debt, then they write the debt away, and you're taking that on for that tax liability. So that's being shifted onto you as an enrichment, that you actually are responsible for the extra income that you got. Then that needs to come off your credit report. So if you go to the IRS website, try to get that information, then you can send that in a dispute that this was canceled. This charge off was canceled. So that's some of the ways that you can attack using those strategies. Another way with charge offs with any accounts was common. You want to look at all three of your credit reports, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and you want to find the inaccuracy in that reporting. One big inaccuracy that you're going to have is the date of last payment. Going back to what I said earlier, the clock on when they can report that for 7 years go on the last date of payment that you made on that account. If you look at that date of last payment, you'll see different dates many a times. Maybe two of the bureaus have the same date of last payment, but one, it might have been even later. So say the date of last payment was September 1st. You may see one saying, oh, the date of last payment was November 1st. The reason why they do this is to re-age that account. They want to keep that account on longer, so you'll see that date move. And the reason why, so they can report it longer on you to commit credit terrorism. So you want to make sure that you look at that. That's a big one, and that's a violation of the FCRA. You also want to look at any other inaccurate information, the balance. So the actual balance that's owed, that can be different across the board. Things like the credit card limit. So if it was a credit card, you may see on one, it'll say it was $2,000 credit card. You may see nothing on the other one. You might see no credit card limit reported. That's inaccurate. So one of the things that is just for these creditors to report this on your credit report under the FCRA, it must be 100% accurate and 100% complete. Because something is true that you owe it, it doesn't mean they have a right to report it if it's not totally accurate. So one of the things that you always want to look for, where is this account reporting inaccurately? And the reason why that's important is like when you were a kid and your teacher used to do telephone, and where they'll have stand at the back of the room and you whisper a rumor all the way around. When the story get to the front, the story will be all changed around. That's how it is with the bureaus. The bureaus actually is the source. So if the story is true, how is it TransUnion got a different narrative from Equifax and from Experian? It's all coming from one source. So if it's inaccurate, it's them giving the inaccurate information, and that bureau needs to delete that. Okay, they need to delete it. Now, sometimes you'll see that they update an item, they might update what is wrong, but then you find the next error. You want to keep attacking different errors. Now, with the elite credit system, what we have, the AI software actually creates the letters for you. It goes through when you first hook up within 2 minutes, and it finds all the errors and it It create that dispute for you, what you can't see. And sometimes it used to take me hours or a good hour to go through people credit report with them to find those errors. The system will pick up on it. And what you want to do is do a factual dispute. That's where you want to attack them at. You want to go factual. So this is factually inaccurate. And that's what it's going to pick up. The balance may be off. The credit, the highest credit or highest balance limit or the highest credit limit can be off. There's a lot of things that you can see. The date of the open date can be off. The close date can be off. There's a lot of things that can be off on that reporting. So that's what you want to track down and find so you can dispute that. Another thing that you guys want to look for with those charge offs, a lot of that you want to attack first. You want to go and you want to do your disputes. You want to attack this inaccurate information. If it's not removed by the third dispute, what you want to do is send a what we call in my system an original creditor letter. You want to send that directly to the original creditor. So whoever it is, if it's a Capital One card, you already did these disputes, at least two in. I tell people 2 to 3 in. Then what you're going to do is then go to the original creditor. You're going to send this letter certified. Now, so what you're going to do is catch them up on a lie. You're going to ask them for the whole payment history on that account. So they already been either validating at the bureau something, or they may have removed it, but you might even have one bureau remove it, one holding on to it. By asking for those records, now you're going to have in your possession where you can really see if this is true or accurate or not. So now you have the original records and you want to request the whole history on that. And then you can really, if you find that error, now you have the proof where now you can send that proof in with the dispute. So you want to make sure that that you do that and you're going to send it certified mail. Okay, so that's one of the things that you want to use. Now, some of them, what you want to do, like one that's notorious for this is Capital One. Capital One is say, oh, you send them a letter. Oh, we don't know if it's you. You know what? Great. You send it certified mail. If they respond back, they don't know it's you. What you gonna do now with the bureaus? Here's my certified. Go to the UPS website. See the date after 30 days when they receive it. You got your certified mail proof that they received it on this date. Send that to the bureaus. Hey, I requested information on this account. They never responded. Delete this account. So that's another angle to attack it. What you're going to do is, sorry, you guys, my baby ran in here. But what you're going to do is attack it on that. Make sure that you guys attack it to show that they did not respond back to you. So you could use that tactic all the time, even with them responding back. They don't never send it back certified. So who said you received it or not? So sometimes you need to examine that information, even if it's true. I ain't never received nothing. This is hey, here's my proof. They ain't never holler back at me. And you dispute it on that standing. So those are some of the ways that if you're looking to get off of a charge off, number one, look for any inaccurate information across all the bureaus. If they're the source, then everybody should be saying the same thing, which they never do. Okay, there you're going to find an error in that account. And so if it's not 100% accurate, 100% complete, they need to remove that. Another one, before I land, you may even see a charge off for a repo. That's a big one. People have charge offs for repos. Um, with a repo, we actually have an original creditor letter for repossession, because repos fall under a whole nother category where repos actually, before they come and take that vehicle back, they are supposed to give you an opportunity to pay, to let you know the amount due before they come and get that vehicle. Then when they come and repossess that vehicle, they supposed to give you an opportunity to come and pay it off, where to come, and the amount. And even when they take that car to auction, they are supposed to give you a notice of the date of the auction, and also send you the amount that they actually sold the car for, and what is the balance that you owe. So if they're saying you got an outstanding balance of $10,000 for this repo, but they took the car to auction and sold it for 5,000, then I don't owe you 10,000. How do I owe you the 10,000? So you want to ask that original creditor for that information and the original contract. So when you're sending that for a repo, that's a different original credit. If you have a repossession, you want to send that one, certified mail, where you're demanding, you want proof of those notices sent to you, because that is part of the process during and before the repossession. So you want to put pressure on them on that. Another thing that I see with charge offs that a lot of people have problems is they don't understand with bankruptcy. So a lot of you guys may have filed bankruptcy, and you'll see that account that you have is going to be in a charge off status, and you'll see it'll be zero, but it'll say wrapped up or charged off in bankruptcy. If you have that going on and you file bankruptcy, to get that type of charge off, the first thing you want to do is attack the bankruptcy reporting in the public records section. You want to try to get that off, and you can attack that. Generally, what I have seen with people, Equifax is one of the first ones primarily that's going to remove that. So once you get that out, then that helps you to remove that charge off with that bankruptcy notation there. Because once you remove the charge off, I mean, the bankruptcy reporting, now you can say, I never had a bankruptcy on my credit report, so this is inaccurate. So, how is this wrapped up in a charge off is inaccurate? I don't have a bankruptcy that I filed. So that's how you're going to deal with those. Those, you might see people who filed for bankruptcy have a number of those kinds of charge offs, but it's wrapped up from the bankruptcy. You want to go after that bankruptcy reporting in the public records to start to get that off, to dispute that off. And so all of those things, you definitely want to take these steps. Number one, finding the inaccuracies, where it's reporting with the other bureaus, where that's inaccurate. And then you want to attack it by disputing with factual disputes. So hopefully that give you guys an overview on how you would, some of those steps that you can go after those charge offs. So I'm going to see if anybody have some questions. I'm going to see if you want, you guys start to drop your questions here in the comment section, so I'm going to start to the top. Or you know what? Let's do this. I know you guys been in the chat the whole time, but I'm operating on my Mac, and I am not the best with dealing with my Mac to go live. If you guys can start dropping right now, if you have questions, drop some questions down so I can kind of read you guys questions. Let me see if it's any start. Okay, give me a second. Um, if not, I'm going to operate on my phone because, like I said, I'm going to read this because of my Mac. I am not the best. So let me go in the chat. So if you guys drop, I'm going to just go through to drop y'all questions. If y'all can start dropping it now. Um, Uh, okay. I put my question in the chat already. Miss Yvonne, I hate to bother you, but can you drop your question again if you can for me? I'm just gonna get here. Somebody said, how do I delete an address since you can't do it online? When you're deleting an old address, what you guys want to do, you can mail those in. You want to make sure when you're attacking those old addresses, send in your current information of where you live. Another little trick with those old addresses, if y'all didn't know, with your current address, they report any mail changes or address change through the post office. Sometimes what you can do is make sure you go to the post office and do an address change right where you are to make sure that your mail is going where you are, especially if you move somewhere else. They update that with the credit bureaus. So you can use that with that updating and let them know when you send in that paper dispute, tell them that that is not me. To remove that, present your current information, like your utility bill, present your social security, a copy of your social security card, because they're going to be petty about that. Also, send a copy of your driver's license at your current address. I see people want to dispute old addresses, but their license is even at that old address. So make sure you update with your driver's license or your ID at your current address. And like I said, with all our disputes, with me in the system or with my packages, we use affidavits. So that's another strong part trying to remove old addresses. You're going to get that affidavit notarized at your local bank, somebody that's an authority of your state, and you're swearing, I live at this location, and this is someone who's an appointee of your state. So you use those affidavits along with that evidence to send those disputes in to get those old addresses removed. So that's one of the ways that you can attack to move those old addresses. Um, Kimberly said, I'm going through the personal information and still being inaccurate after first dispute. Now, did you use the affidavit method? So make sure you guys, if y'all do, you can do a general affidavit. And when you guys are doing those affidavit, what you're doing is not swearing about the accounts, swearing you are who you are. And like I said, another one, try to do, you can do a address change with the post office and make sure they'll report that to the credit bureaus, and that can also help get that information off. Um, they said, if I have a few old addresses listed, should we request removing those? Yes, you want to. Another thing with those old addresses, why it's important, understand the bureaus are selling your information. So when they're selling your information, there's some places at an old address, say you move to a whole new state. So in Texas, they have Dillard's. I'm originally from the East Coast, from New Jersey. There's no Dillard's up there. So with Dillard's, if a person moved from Texas to New Jersey and that old address is still on their credit report, Dillard's is buying information to send for their credit cards, and they're buying it for the bureaus. That's what the bureaus make these millions and billions of dollars from, is selling your data, because banks need you. Little, unbeknownst to a lot of people, Banks wouldn't be in business without lending to you. The thing is, what they try to do is keep negative items to justify charging you more interest. Remember, banks make money off of interest. So, what they want to do is if they can justify keeping you with just bad enough credit so they can hit you with a higher interest rate, then they can justify, I give you a $300 credit limit and charge you 29% interest. So when these places like dealers are looking for a customer, they're looking for a particular credit profile. And this is where the bureaus are selling them our information. So they may be looking for someone with a 760 credit profile, but where the address come into place, they don't want people, dealers that's located in the South or in Texas. They don't need somebody address in New Jersey, but you now move to New Jersey and the bureaus don't want to remove your old address. They're selling that to them, and that's how a lot of people get identity theft because they get old mailers at these old addresses, and people can get your mail and apply for credit cards because they're getting your information. So yes, you want to make sure you deal with all those old addresses and remove them, because they are sending a lot of times mailers and selling your information to those old addresses. So that's one option. um can you tell me if my credit score dropped by 92 points and they did not say why, how I can dispute that? So that was from Tay Spark. That's a good question. So, number one, if your credit score drop, what you want to do is, first of all, find out, did all your credit scores drop? Because what happens sometimes, it might be a negative item like a charge off, or even like a collection is common. It may have only reported to one bureau and not all of them, or you might see them to two and it dropped your credit score. So that might be why. If some of you guys see a vast difference in your credit score, say one credit score, you got a 700, and for Experian is 700, say Equifax might be 690, which isn't that far off, but TransUnion is like a 640. What's going on there? Something with that big, like a 50 or 60 point jump different. It's a negative item reporting on that bureau that's not reporting to the rest. So in that case, what you may want to look for, if you don't know why, you want to look for those things. Another thing that can make your credit score drop like that 92 points, and you don't know why, what I said earlier, you may have a charge off that's been sitting there dormant, and it's just been sitting there, that negative item charged off. Or you might have that collection just sitting there. They know that your score go up over time. And what you can see, if you look at your credit score or your credit report, what you may notice, they might have start reporting that late every month. So go and look for, if you got a negative accounts on there, go look to see if they're reporting a CO every month, because they'll start doing that to get you to try to pay, to keep your credit score down. So in your case, you want to find that negative that's reporting and you want to dispute it. So depending on what it is, that's how you're going to attack it. So if you're saying you don't know why, look at your negatives that you already may have had. If you got a collection, they may start doing that to force you to try to pay. If it's a collection, that's a violation of the FCRA. They should not be reporting a late payment every month. You'll see your charge offs doing that. Sometimes it wasn't doing that before, but all of a sudden they start reporting it every month. So go and look in those areas. That's very common. Or there's something, make sure if 92 points, is it on all bureaus? Because if it's not, it's all on one or two, that means something new came up and you can dispute that negative item. So I hope that one is also helpful. I'm gonna just look. Somebody say, yes, I have changed my driver's license with my current address. And did you do, you said, can you dispute online? Yes, you can try to dispute online. But here's the thing with disputing items online. When you guys dispute online, you are giving up certain rights. Once you do that and you read those rights that they show you by disputing online, honestly, then you're agreeing to go with their outcome pretty much by disputing that way. So you're making their lives easier to tell you no. When you send it via mail, they must respond back within 30 days when they receive it. If they don't respond back on time via paper mail, then they must delete that item. So a lot of times doing it online, you're making their lives easier and they make more money because when you dispute online a negative item, they charge that company reporting that $1. And so you're helping them even make more money to fight you with. So it's always best to dispute via mail, certified, and you have the record, okay, of this negative information and that you went to dispute it. You can put a you can go to the CFPB after this been going on for a good while. A lot of people go over there way too soon, but you want to at least get 2 or 3 disputes in to show that you are making an effort to get that off. You can upload your proof. Along with that, if you guys are disputing via mail, getting the record. I have somebody in my group, Mr. Kelly, and he was in today. He was able to do that route, build that paper trail, and go to a consumer lawyer that took on his case without him coming out of pocket, and he activated a lawsuit. Or they actually, the lawyer didn't even go all the way through. The bureaus went on and paid them out. So a lot of y'all, if you're not sending it in mail, via mail, you're giving up rights and you can be missing out on money too. So just keep that in mind. But I do know a lot of people like to do it online, but you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. A lot of this disputing via mail, it's to get the you want to get the paperwork, you want to get the evidence that they're not following the law. So that's what you want to do in that case. I'm just reading through. Patricia is saying, I filed bankruptcy, but I continue paying my bills myself. I did not use the bankruptcy to my creditors. How can I get the C/O off my credit report? So are you saying, just to get some clarity, I think what you're saying, you filed bankruptcy and you kept paying your bills. Number one, what type of bankruptcy did you file? Chapter 7, chapter 13 is going to be common. So paying your bills, it depends on what bills was you paying, because um did you wrap up, or you didn't wrap up those credit cards in bankruptcy, or did you do a chapter 13 and you kept paying? A lot of people will keep paying their mortgage. So I just need a little more details to understand. Or some people filed for bankruptcy. A lot of people may have filed for bankruptcy, didn't go through, but that reporting is still on your credit report because you did the initial filing. And sometimes when you ain't even trying to wrap in that other credit card and they'll just close it out on you. So please give me a little details. Where's that CO coming from? Um, what did you file chapter 7 or 13, because it's a different chapter 13. It can report for about after discharge 7 years, but chapter 7 reports for 10 years. So all of that stuff is a little differently. So just if you guys have questions about bankruptcy, just give me those details, because it does matter. Kimberly said she didn't do the affidavit method this time. Definitely everybody, the affidavit, try to use those methods, because a lot of times, even sending in your disputes, y'all probably have seen that they'll play games in your face and say, "Oh, we don't know if it's you. Can you send it again?" The affidavit is to give you the proof. Now, what you do is get it notarized and you keep the original, but all your disputes, send out copies of that affidavit. And then if you go to the CFPB or have to take it to an attorney or go, take it further, you are showing proof that you actually sent in a legal document, which is an affidavit. And some of you guys, if you did send that dispute with that affidavit, call up at that point and speak to the customer service rep and let them know, hey, you're saying I didn't get my dispute. I sent a certified mail and I sent it with an affidavit. Many of them must then try to process it. Keep in mind, tell them do not, because they'll try to get slick, to do a online dispute. They'll try to say, okay, we'll start the dispute. No, respond back to me on paper. Don't let them, because they'll try to get slick. When you call in, they'll say, oh, okay, yeah. But we'll do it online. Don't let them do that online dispute, because they're trying to save themselves money and they're trying to play in your face. They don't want to be on those time frames by law. So then they can just send you an email any day. Don't respond to that stuff. I ain't received nothing. If you sent it via mail, a lot of them would try to get slick with you and send their response back via email, or you'll see update. I ain't getting nothing. Okay, that's what you're going to stand on business with. Hey, then dispute again. Here's the date that I sent you that. Y'all received it on this date, and I never got a response from you. Delete that item off my credit report. So you want to make sure they're responding back to you via mail. Also, you guys, when they respond back and you open that letter, try not to destroy the area of that stamp, okay? Because that's when they sent it off, okay? So make sure that you make sure you're keeping all your evidence, so you can have that post stamp as proof as the date that they sent it off, okay? So hopefully that give you guys some more insight. Patricia Bennett is saying she filed bankruptcy, but I continue to pay my bills. I think I read that. I thought that was the update. Narrative code, somebody is saying closed, paid off, / zero balance. Please just give me some more information if you're asking a question, so I can understand. How do you delete a charge off that has a zero balance, though it says sold to a collection company, a collection agency? Is this it says, is this the bane of my existence right now? Thank you for the info. New York resident. So that's DJ Ja. No, you want to still do the same attack. If even though it's a zero balance, look for that same charge off, any inaccurate information. Look on all three of your credit bureaus, the reporting. So, like I said earlier, always look up the date of last payment. They always be lying about that. So that date of last payment, look that up. Even though it have a zero balance, the high balance limit, look at that. If it's a credit card, look to see if those limits are there, because a lot of times they might not have that limit there. Date of opening, look at that. Date close. So see, you want to look at all three, reporting on your bureaus, and find any inaccuracies. And that, if it's not 100% accurate or complete, then it needs to, if it's not reporting like that, it needs to be removed. Like I said, with my elite credit system, the system will find the inaccuracies and tell you the different, and it'll create the dispute letter for you. But if you get all your reports and look at that, you may pick it up yourself, look in those areas and see what's not consistent, and you want to dispute on that fact. And some of y'all, it might not report on both bureaus. Okay. So if you have, like I said, a collection not reporting on one bureau or a charge off, send that in to the bureaus. Make a copy of that. This is inaccurate. This is not reporting on my other credit report. Another other bureaus, this is, you have the wrong person. This is an inaccurate account. Another thing you guys can use too, your data breaches. Do not throw away those data breaches. That's another thing. This ain't mine. It was just recently a data breach from this company. All those data breaches, you guys, keep that. That's another area where you can dispute and stand on, is those data breaches, and say, hey, this is another reason. I was part of that Equifax data breach. I was part of TransUnion data breach. Keep that information, or any other company data breach, and use that along with to dispute, like in your case, that charge off. So use that. And also, like I said earlier, if it's a zero balance, also check with the IRS to see, did they 1099-C and charge that off, a cancellation of debt with that charge off for you, and made you take on the tax liability. If that's the case, I no longer owe it. They canceled the debt, and send that also as proof to the credit bureaus that it's no longer owed. Okay? So look at those two. Um somebody said, Mama AU said, I continue to see this on my credit report. How do I handle this with the credit bureaus? Just let me know what it was. I'm sorry, you guys. It's just a lot of information coming through. Someone said, how do you increase your FICA 3 score fast? So if you're saying a FICA 3 score, I believe you're kind of saying that's probably one of your mortgage scores. That's an older version, like a FICA 4, FICA. So it's going to go on the same principles like FICO 8. They do hold things a little more, have a little more precedence on negative items. But what you can do if you want to increase it fast, one of them is Ava. You can do Meet Ava, or add on a line of credit, but you're going to need a primary line of credit. So when it comes to home loans, I'm assuming you're going for a home loan. If I'm wrong, because that's an older model. If I'm wrong, please just let me know in the chat. It sounds like you're going for a mortgage. So if you guys are going for a mortgage, if you don't know, writing on somebody else as an authorized user can help, but it must be your spouse. Okay. So you can do that. If your spouse have a good credit line and it doesn't have really high utilization, just being added on as an authorized user, that can help you and prevent you from getting a hard inquiry. Another one that you can use is adding on reported information. You can add on your credit. Another thing you can add on for yourself as a primary trade line, like a Meet Ava. So it'll be primary, like you got that line of credit, and that's an unsecured line of credit. You can also do the extra card. That may be one. or depending on your credit score, if you got a pretty solid credit score, um, you can get a credit card that you get approved for, and that can help increase your credit score. That's going to take 30 days. Ava should report within about 7 days tops. They say in 24 hours they report it to the bureaus, or you can also ride on as an authorized user if that's for a home loan, as your spouse. And the other way, if it's really quickly, you need to your current credit cards to pay those down. And the way you want to do it, if you need it to be really fast, you want to look at your credit card. So say I have my Discover card is about the second of the month, my Discover card, right? On the second of every month, that's when that card due date is, and the report date is going to be about 4 days after. So around the 6th, it's going to report the balance, the updated balance to the credit bureaus. So if I'm trying to really increase my credit score within the next couple of days, that card wouldn't be the card I'll aim at. My Navy Federal card actually due date is on the 22nd, which is a couple of days from now. Its update date is going to be around the 26th. So if I'm trying in the next 7 days to increase my credit score, I'm going to go at my closest credit card to pay it down so I can see a boost in my credit score. So that's another thing. You can start paying down the card, depending on how quick you want it to update. Make sure you pay that closest card that you're closer to that due date down first and get those points. Once it reports the balance and that is paid down, you should see an increase in your credit score. If you're a part of the elite credit system, we use Smart Credit, and it's something called Score Boost. So everybody that's part of it, if you're not going over there using Score Boost, you need to. It give you that information on your credit cards. It'll tell you, show you with a gauge how much money maybe you have, and it'll show you how many points that you would get by paying down what card and where to allocate that money. So some people might be, I always give this example. It was somebody that came to me, their credit score was like a 580 credit score. But when we went through it, they just had high credit card debt. And once they paid it down by the next month, their score was a 829 credit score. So I showed them that in that elite credit system through that Smart Credit with Score Boost. And they'll tell you the dates when you got to pay it down. If y'all been paying your credit cards on time, but you have high utilization, do not get discouraged, because a lot of people give up. Like, I don't know why my score won't go up. If you're paying the minimum and nothing's been late, your problem is your utilization. So all you have to do is pay those cards down, and you'll see your score go up. You might really have really good credit. So don't get discouraged in that case and go up. But those are some of the ways that you can boost your credit score up right there. Somebody said they've been literally disputing since October 2023. So it may be the approach of what you're disputing and how you're disputing. I gave some cues. Like I said, cancellation of debt, go to the IRS. I'm quite sure this is the first time a lot of y'all are hearing about that. So try that and send that in to the credit bureaus. If you've been disputing and you've been doing it certified mail and got that response back, then take your evidence and upload your complaint with the CFPB too, okay? Take it one bureau at a time. But if you have your evidence and you got that, go to the post office website, put in your certified to show the dates when they received it, and also submit that, okay? And that may help also. And Patricia said you were using a Chapter 13. So that's what you were making those payments for. So you were making those payments on that bankruptcy, what you're saying, through a Chapter 13. So apparently one of your vehicles or your home, probably your mortgage, you was making those payments, and you didn't wrap the rest of them in bankruptcy. So if your other accounts wasn't wrapped up in that bankruptcy, then you would go after it. Like I said earlier, you would just dispute that charge off, because yours wouldn't have that notation. Even though you filed for bankruptcy, you just let that count wasn't paid and it wasn't wrapped up in that bankruptcy. So you would dispute it just like a normal charge off. Yours, even though you filed for bankruptcy, you didn't wrap it up in it. So yours, you would attack it like I suggested. Find the inaccuracies. That's number one. Check all three credit bureaus. Find any information that's not 100% accurate or 100% complete. Dispute it on a factual basis that way. Also check with the IRS, see if they 1099-C that. That may be an option for you to dispute that. They charge this account off. It's no longer owed. Send that as a dispute to the credit bureaus. And also removing those old addresses and all that information. That's another way to dispute. But those are going to be the ways that you do that. Yours, in your case, you don't have to primarily to get those off, get the bankruptcy off, because your charge off wasn't wrapped up into that bankruptcy. So you can use the normal way of doing it. Everybody else that have a bankruptcy, if you had that account wrapped up in that bankruptcy, like a Chapter 7, people get all their credit card debts. If it has that wrapped in bankruptcy notation, discharged in bankruptcy, you gotta attack the bankruptcy first to get that going. So let me see if any some other questions. um Kay, Kaylin, oh, I just went up. 8003, you said you had a charge off by Discover, a charge off card before I was able to settle the debt using the credit card settlement company. Okay, 5 years ago, and they're still reporting it. So you settled that with a settlement company. So it sounded like you did debt relief settlement. Was so what you need to do. I don't advocate some like it was one person in my group, their company did all right. They did settle it. But what you need to do, most of them, you got to watch those debt settlement companies, because they'll tell you to stop paying it and tear up your credit report worse than you just trying to settle it yourself, because they'll let it go late while they negotiate. Then they'll negotiate something to pay off that debt, but they don't wrap in a plan for them to remove it once you pay it off. They don't get anything in writing. So what you might need to do is contact that debt settlement company and find out if they have anything in writing, because you were making payments through them to settle that debt. So see if they had negotiated something. Did they get something in writing or a contract somewhere with Discover at the end of that payment that they were going to remove it? Some companies do, some companies don't. It's very rare that they do. Okay, I'll just be honest. But I did have one gentleman that their company did negotiate that. So what you want to do, see if they did negotiate that, get that contract from them, and then submit it. I will first I'll dispute if they did do that. I'll contact that company, Discover, and send them that contract, send it certified mail, and I'll dispute it at the same time with the credit bureaus. If they agreed to that and they didn't remove that, now you have a lawsuit, because they're damaging you and they made an agreement that they were going to remove it and they got paid. So you want to get that contract, contact that settlement company and see if they negotiated something in writing for you. So That's a good question that came up. Anybody that want to do a debt settlement company, beware. Make sure they're getting something in writing for you, because many of them will have you paying them. You pay off that debt, and that crap is still on your credit report. So you could have did that yourself. If I was going to pay him, at least you could have negotiated yourself a pay for deletion. But why am I paying y'all? And then I could have just paid it off myself. Or you could have negotiated to pay less. They're just getting paid off of you. So just be careful, you guys. Um, um, Somebody else said, okay, good tip with the data breach. Yes, you guys always use that. Always use that. I think it's Jackless 3. You said what would be good credit scores? Now, what's considered to be a good credit score is 680 going up. That's where you hit that good credit score, is about 680 and up. Now, just keep in mind, you guys, you always want to also, what is your goal? That's why I asked too in the comment section. Somebody requirement, if you want to get a home, what you going for might be different than somebody who want to get a car. So if you get a car, not having the best credit score, you can still get in, but it's going to dictate your interest rate. And the same thing with that home. Now they're removing the requirements for the interest rate. I mean, the requirements for the credit scores to get a home, but it's going to dictate your interest rate, the lower, and it's going to dictate your down payment, how much you have to put down. So, depending, that might no longer be, that mortgage is affordable for you. If your credit scores are too low, you might not could get approved because the interest rate is higher and you have to pay more, and now that disqualify you for your mortgage. So you always want to look at your goal a lot of times to attack that. Getting a home, now they have changed things up. They use two uh two credit two different credit bureaus now, not bureaus, but actually two different scores. So that just changed up this year. It used to be your mid score, and it was a FICO score. Depending, it usually be an older model, like the young lady said, her FICO 3. That's usually going for a mortgage. Some of them use a FICO 5, a older model, to go for a mortgage. But they used to pull all three of that FICO score and take your mid score, not the highest score, not the lowest score, but the middle score. They just changed that now with FHA. They're going to take your what is it? Vantage 4.0, which a lot of y'all have a higher score on, and then they use the FICO 10T. So FICO 10T is for trending data. And what that is, they're looking at a 24-month look back on how was your credit card and your debts. Was it trending up or down? Right? So was your debt going up and down? So that's going to dictate that score, which sucks, because with the old score, with the FICO 3, like I just told the young lady, with that model, you pay your credit cards down, your scores shoot right back up. With that FICO 10T, it doesn't. Okay, because they're looking at the last 24 months. So you pay that card down, in the next 30 days, they're still looking at the last 24 months. So if you were carrying that credit card for a longer period of time, that counts against you. So, and somebody just said my Vantage is lower than your FICO score. So it just depends on what your what your goal is and what's going on. Because like she said, FICO, the 8 and the FICO 9, you pretty much, if you pay down even the older models, you pay down that credit card, when it update, you'll see your score go up. But with that FICO 10T, they're looking at your debts you've been carrying for the last 24 months. And that sucks if you ask me. So that's if you go on with a mortgage, with FHA, possibly VA, those government backed mortgages, those programs, first time homeowners program. So another thing with I learned with with Vantage scores, unlike FICO don't penalize you as hard for late payments connected to a mortgage. So if you had a late payment with a mortgage, FICO read it like any other late payment. Vantage, if you had a late payment on a mortgage, they deduct more points off of your credit score. So that is a different with those scoring models. So it depends on what you're going for, but your good credit score, it starts around a 680 and up, just for everybody to know a good rule of thumb. But it depends on what you're trying to get approved for. Always remember, you guys, debt to income is always going to play a part in your approvals. That's always. So going back, the higher the credit score, the less the interest rate that you're going to have to pay generally is where it's going to play in. So if you pay less of an interest rate, that's more you can afford, more of the credit card line you can get approved for, more of the home loan, because your interest is not as high. And so you don't have to pay as much of a payment. So it plays into that too. You might can get approved for a mortgage, but if you score too low, your interest rate is going to be much higher, and that might make you not qualify, because when it comes to your income, it might knock you out of the game on the payment. So you just want to also, look at what you're going to get approved for and what your goal is. So for everybody here, that's why what we talk about in my group, like today we strategize. Okay. So going back with the mortgage, they're looking at more of all three of your credit bureaus. If you're going for a car loan or a credit card, unlike Capital One, now Capital One will pull all three of your credit scores. But if you're working on your credit, a lot of people say, I've been working on my credit for a long time. If you get some of those negative items off of one of your credit scores, leverage that score. So if you need a car loan, you want to look for a lender that may pull exclusively from Equifax. Because I have seen, you might have people have some negative items, or say that bankruptcy. That's a great one. We got a person in my group within 3 months, things came flying off of their Equifax. Even a bankruptcy came off. So they were trying to get business credit. Normally, they're not going to touch you with business credit if you got a bankruptcy. Guess what? In 3 months, because this bureau was cleaned off with Equifax, and the other ones was lower, like at a 620, but that one went up to a 752, and the bankruptcy happened to get removed. So you just don't sit around and twiddle your thumbs and complain. Told them, hey, you won't go over here. They pull exclusively from Equifax, and you get approved over there. They were able to get a credit card. So it's not about just sitting around twiddling your thumbs to everything get wiped off. No, you get to moving on what you got. So in that case, even with a personal credit card, if you don't have no personal credit cards because everything defaulted, that Equifax might be an opportunity. Let's just go with banks that pull strictly for Equifax for a car loan or a credit card. You go through them, and now on the rest of your bureaus, that credit card line is going to report over there too. So that helps increase your credit scores where you really couldn't use that to get approvals. And then you just continue to dispute and clean the rest of that off. So it's about a strategy. So you just don't, a lot of people, they look at the donut, and they don't look at the whole donut. They complain about the hole. Don't complain about the hole. Look at the whole picture. They'll say, oh, this donut got a hole in it. You want to get a strategy on how you can go for that. I seen somebody said, what about student loans? What's your question about student loans? Is it student loan late payments? Um, what do you have going on with student loans? If it's a lot of people got hit with those late payments, one of the things that's been effective for people in the group is also going to your student loan servicer, requesting that whole history of that student loan account, right? So the whole, because some people have student loans for 10 years, they change servicers. Some servicers like Sally Mack, the reason why they changed hands because they weren't allocating your payments properly. Some of them, like I believe it was Nelnet, it might have been either Navient or Nelnet, they were misallocating payments and also putting people in deferment or forbearance, actually not deferment, and forbearance instead of putting them in those income driven repayment plans. And so a lot of them got caught on violations of doing that. So you want to request your whole history of that and find out, were they allocating your payments down the years properly? And so you can use that also as a reason to say that account is not accurate, that late payment is not accurate. If some of you guys are currently in school, if you were currently in school when Trump made those change, a lot of people would get hit with late payments. Make sure that you present that in your dispute. Another thing you can stand on is the CARES Act. If you were in some people were getting late payments. You say my account at that time, you were reporting late payments. And during the pandemic, the CARES Act also said that no late payments should have been reported on my credit report. So that's been working well with student loans too, disputing and also going to your FAFSA, getting those records, go to your school and get records. A lot of those balances and the information is not accurate. So try to get all the information that you can, but definitely go and get that whole history on that account and see if your payments was being allocated properly. Because even if they hit you with the late payment and the balance was off because they wasn't allocating your payments that you prior to been paying, then this account wasn't, the accountant on this was not accurately correct. And what I owe, that balance shouldn't have been outstanding, or that payment shouldn't have been at that amount. So try to get your hands on some of those records to dispute those late payments. Also, another thing with those late payments, what we've been seeing, um Equifax been removing those late payments quickly. Like Equifax been letting a lot of stuff off. So if you can get it to move off of Equifax and dispute those late student loan payments, then leverage that. And take your Equifax credit report and send it in with your dispute. Say, hey, Equifax is saying this is on time. So how is it that you're reporting this account late? This account was never late. So you use that strategy with that to remove those student loan late payments also. So hopefully that helps for someone. Say, I meant charge off, not collections. I'm going to go back up all things elite to see if I can find what it okay, that's, I really see that's it. All things elite. Oh, you said charge off, not collections. If you can give me what you are saying there, please let me know, and I will um I will respond to that. Okay. All right, everyone. I do see somebody, 44 Rod. You said Midland Credit Management, aka MCM, threatening me with lawyers for a charge off debt. How should I proceed? That's a good question. So with Midland, um, those attorneys that's contacting you, are they in your state? Are they in the state next to you? Be careful because lawyers also buy debt, and they are the ones that own that debt, but they'll sit there and act like they are representing Midland Funding. So if that attorney is in your state, you got to watch out immediately. If it's in the state next to you, you need to watch out, because with those, that mean that attorney is licensed in your state or licensed to do business. A lot of times with the state next to you, that they'll get licensed in your state and they're looking to really sue you. So in that case, you can use like I'll suggest to my people like Legal Shield, or get one of those attorneys to respond back to them immediately, to write a letter, respond back. If you got a legal program, get them to respond back immediately, to slow them down so it look like you retain an attorney. So that you might need to do, and you want to watch out for that because they're going in for the lawsuit. If, like with me, I lived in New Jersey and I see that attorney is based out of Chicago, they most of the time they just bought that debt and they far away and they'll threaten. But you got a more little leeway. They not really licensed in your state. If you see it's that much, you send in that debt validation letter. That's what you'll do in there. But watch them too, because a lot of times they'll sell that debt maybe to an attorney in your state. If you get hit with a lawsuit, everybody, talk to an attorney in your state, quick, fast, in a hurry. Okay. You always want to make sure, if you get served, you want to answer that lawsuit, because they can get a judgment, garnish your paycheck, put liens on your property. And if it's a third party, or if it's saying even for a Capital One, I always countersue. That this is not legal advice. I'm just telling y'all what I do. Okay. What I have done in the past. This is not legal advice. I'm not an attorney, but I tend to countersue. So if they're saying I owe them $1,000, what I'm going to do, I don't care who you are, especially if you're a third party, I'm really suing you. Even if you're the company, like Capital One, y'all lying on me. I made payments on this account, paid it online or through the phone system, and y'all applied my payment like it was late, charged me some fees, late fees. And sometimes if you have an initial introductory rate of 0% APR, that if because you're late, they might bump you out of that. And it made what my balance was go up. And it's not true. I don't owe you that. And so you're lying on me. You're defaming my character on my credit report. So now I got denied for that credit card over here. See, I'm being denied. So you're injuring me by this false information, this defamation of my character. So I'm countersuing you for $1,500, okay, for defamation of character. That's what I'm going to do. And not only am I suing Capital One, I'm going to sue the CEO, the treasurer. I'm going to go to LinkedIn, get a couple of those customer service people name, where you work at, Miss Brown, you going on this lawsuit, and I'm suing people. Okay. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to countersue and gather up me some names and countersue names. Because if they lose that case, guess what? Them butts that I named on there, they going to be hit with a judgment, and y'all going to owe me. And so what that does, create leverage. That's what it is. It's going to create leverage. So if you got that attorney that actually bought that, oh, since you saying you representing people, oh, you going to represent somebody today. Okay, you going to represent somebody today, since that's the story that we're going with. So I'm going to make you represent them. Okay, we're going to put some time in. And then I'm going to also send them what's called interrogatory questions. And we're going to get to the bottom for us going to court. I'm going to ask you, was this debt ever sold? And who was it sold to? And a lot of times it was sold to them. Okay. So if you're not that quick with it, call an attorney. Make sure you talk to an attorney in your state. You can't talk to one in another state or anyone else. They have to be familiar with your court rules, okay? Because if that attorney is in that state, that's what they're going to try to get you on, that you don't know the rules of the court. And it's almost like basketball. I might take a shot and it go through the hoop. And that's, hey, I got 2 points. But Sherry, you double dribbled, so it didn't count. It's the same way with the rules to the court. You might have a real case, a real standing, but if you're not following the rules of the court, putting in the paperwork, following the timing and the responding on the proper forms, guess what? You got to do it again, or you didn't do it properly. You lost because you didn't follow the rules of the court. So if you're not going to be abreast on that, get you an attorney. Have it, talk to an attorney and ask them to do it. Okay. So that's what you want to look for if it's an attorney. If they're far away and it's a collection, you can send them a debt validation letter. But if they're in that state, they fixing to sue you. So hopefully that answered that question. So hopefully everyone, I'm going to go through to see if we're going to close out to see if you guys have any other questions. I'm sorry. I didn't have Diamond is very helpful to go through here and to get your questions. I see someone said, I need to clean up my credit score. Do you have due to health issues primarily? I'm 74 years old. Okay, well, just let me know if you do know, like, what issues that you have with your credit and what you need to clean up. So and I can, even if you guys want to email me, I will be able to respond if you want to give me some details. We can work that out and I can answer your questions. Um you share is saying, what about an utility bill that was turned over to a collection company and a lawyer bought the debt? Can they sue a senior on Social Security? Yes, they can sue you, but whether they can garnish your Social Security, no. A lot of times in state, you can file a motion if they do that, and the judge will hear it, but that depends on state for state, but they can sue you. If the lawyer actually is bringing a lawsuit against you, I would still make sure that I talk to an attorney in my state, because you want to get talk to an attorney. A lot of them don't charge you if you just lay out the case. From some of them you can call up, and if you catch them in the afternoon, they'll tell you, what is going to take, what you need to do, and that might give you enough information, and they'll tell you how much they'll charge to take it on, or is it even worth them taking it on. So even though they might not collect against your Social Security, you might not want a judgment against you. In a state like New Jersey, if they get a judgment against you, it can stay against you for 20 years, and they can renew it after that 20 years to stay on for another 20 years. So like 40 years. And that might interfere if you ever get a lawsuit and get money. That judgment is out there and they're going to deduct money and pay that. Or if you're trying to get a home, anything else, you're going to have this collection following you, or that judgment against you. So you might not, you might not want to have that to happen. So I really I really hope that this information was helpful. And somebody said, I'm 77, I'm still fighting for myself and people. That's awesome. She said, I use the federal Social Security Act. So you can take that piece of advice and look into it with the Federal Social Security Act. She just gave you a gem. So see if you can look that up and how to use that. So make sure you guys always, if you are, and you said I'm 40 years, oh, a 40-year sentence for a debt in New Jersey. Yeah, that is pretty crazy depending on your state. And some of you guys, it can, I know state like Virginia, if they can, the police pull up on so for certain debts, they'll send out the constable, and it can in some states even lead to legal charges if you don't pay. So you want to be careful on knowing what is the rules in your state. So that I can't answer because I'm not an attorney. Even in the state of New Jersey, it's just the law is the fact. I've just been subject to that. But for you to protect yourself, always talk to an attorney. They'll know the rules in your state, you guys. So anytime you have a lawsuit, if you don't answer it, it's not about whether the lawsuit is true. Then it comes down to the court saying you were served. Why did you not answer us back? So you want to just take the time to see if it's something that you can stop from happening until, before it's too late. So talking to an attorney don't hurt, just make some phone calls and see if you can get some feedback on some of the steps that you need to take. And sometimes when you get that information, some of this paperwork, you can go down there and fill it out yourself. The clerks can't give you legal advice. They'll just tell you this is the form for that. So you might can do some of this yourself and then have an attorney step in for you. So hopefully you guys, this was helpful. If you have more questions or if you need my help personally, you can also join the Elite Credit System. We do have the packages at the website. If you want that affidavit, somebody asked, what is an affidavit? See, affidavit is a legal document where it's saying that you're swearing who you are. So it is, you're going before an officer of the state and you are making you're swearing to certain facts, okay, legally. And so with our affidavits, you're just swearing to, I am Sherry Beckley, I live at this address, and I am submitting this legal affidavit to you. One of the little tricks of collection companies, if you're a victim of identity theft, all that, they'll say, hey, send us back an affidavit. You ain't got to send them back nothing, okay? You go directly to the credit bureaus. Don't play that game with them. Don't play that game with them. I'll send my app, and I won't even respond back to them. You go to the bureaus and have the bureaus block that off for you. And don't, because they be trying to entrap you into that, doing that affidavit paperwork so they can say that you lied and have a legal standing against you to go criminal, okay? Or they'll tell you, go get a police report. If they don't play that game, because what they're trying to do is get you to lie to a police officer, okay? And make a false report to the police. So be careful on that, you guys. Collection companies, they ain't nobody. Okay. Y'all got to prove who you are. And don't, like I said, you guys, do not, last week, don't sign them letters. Watch how you're talking to them people. Okay. Watch how you're talking to them. If they're pursuing you in a lawsuit, always talk to an attorney. Okay. So watch how you talking to them because they know they're borderline illegal and they're going to try to weasel their way to shift the blame on you. So just be careful with them. With your original creditor, when I say with charge-offs, let's say some of y'all are in a situation and it's not charged off as of yet. Consider this, you guys. Maybe it's something you can do to make payments on that. And you can later on try to salvage that account because some of you guys might have credit card relationships, and there's long history. You've been a customer for a long period of time, and that's your age of credit. So you got a couple of late payments. Sometimes don't always throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can bring that account in good standing. Try to do that if you have a long credit history with that company. And a couple of months later, then go back and dispute the late payments. So sometimes, if you're in a situation, just try to salvage that account if it's a good account. Okay. If it's a credit card you only had for a month or two, hey, yeah, you might say, hey, I got to let it go. But if you had long standing relationships, maybe you want to pick and choose. Okay. If you're really in a tight, you'll say, hey, I had this card with Chase for 10 years. Then try to salvage that one. Maybe the newest one, if you can't make the payment, that one you might have to, you can only do what you can do and say, that one I might have to let go because I can't pay it. And you'll be surprised, instead of trying to go into debt consolidation, you can negotiate that yourself instead of going into bankruptcy. That's going to stay on your credit report for 7 years. So maybe even if you have to pay off your existing accounts right now on time, you know, those late payments, you may have, you can go back and dispute those. So just keep that in mind to try to salvage what you can, instead of like losing everything and starting completely over. If you can salvage one of your oldest credit lines, even if you made some missed payments, it may be worth to do so, even if you have to let some of the rest go. So hopefully that's helpful. So when you start rebuilding, you're not starting off from completely from scratch, because it just makes it a little harder to do so. So hopefully you guys, this was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, you can go to my website and send me those questions. I know Thanksgiving is coming up this Thursday. So happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. And thank you guys for joining us. Next week, we will be here on Saturday for our last credit boot camp. So please, I hope to see you guys there if you can. If you can't, enjoy your family and have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your night. Bye bye.